And we're live. And we are live. Right? Does it say we're live on your end? You got a notification? Did you? Okay. All right. So this is the first time that I've ever gone live. Very, very weird for me. Very new, as a new experience. But I wanted to do a live show today to try it out, to see what's going on, whether or not people join, just to try it out. So this is the JTH show. Today we're going to talk about, real quickly, debt collectors going over or for you on social media. And Elon Musk says there are too many MBAs in corporate America, among other things. But first, roll the intro. But I'm so here. Kind of weird, huh? All right. This is weird. I usually have time to scratch my nose and get ready for you guys while that intro is happening, but it's not. So whatever. It's a live show. It's not meant to be anything fancy. It is what it is. Laid back. It's fine. Let's start with the first story and see what happens. So in the first story of today, we have something that I found very interesting because I'm in the world, as some of you guys know, of telemarketing. What does that mean? Well, I've been offered campaigns, right? What's what I do for a living, campaigns in which, an example, people will call you and harass you for your money. Of course, if you live in the United States and you have debt. And when they do that, a lot of the times they use somewhat unorthodox, tactics, right? To try to get you to pay that debt. Things like, hey, we know where you live. We're going to send the cops. You only have 10 days before we send this to court, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I've heard them all. Why? Because quite frankly, I've been in debt before. And like many other Americans, we have heard these tactics, that they try to use to intimidate you into paying things, right? Now, a lot of times they come through and actually sue you. Many times they don't. But here's the thing, right? What I found today interesting is that now there will be new laws allowing these debt collectors to go after you using social media. So what does that mean? What does it mean is that now if you have Facebook or Instagram, and again, any other social media, they very well could use the social media to just reach out to you. So now your next friend request can be like your local, the debt collector person, right? You might be thinking it's someone nice, some girl reach out to you. You're like, ooh, who is this? Some girl reach out to me, friend request. Wrong. It's Susie from the debt collector agency saying, hey, you owe us $10,000, $2,000, or whatever it is. And here's the thing. Jokes aside, I find this to be somewhat dangerous, or it could be in my opinion, because again, debt collectors, as I show you here real quick, let me see if this works. It should work. They use tactics, again, to exploit people into thinking you owe debt sometimes that it's old, debt that now has passed that statute of limitations. And, after about 7 years, you don't really have to pay it back. A lot of people know this, is that once you pay a debt back or you confirm, once they call you and they harass you, they tell you things like, hey, you owe this debt and you have to pay it back. Now, in this article here that I found, it says, title, Debt Collectors Will Be Able to Look for You on Social Media Platforms Next Year. On here, the little bit of the article here is, the year 2020 has seen historic job losses and economic downturn, leaving millions of people in debt. Very true. For some folks, that means dealing with calls from debt collectors. Starting late next year, debt collectors will be allowed to contact consumers via email, okay, text messages, and even social media. So what does that mean? Before, right, certain laws allowed people to be contacted strictly over phone calls, and you were able to, send those calls to, unknown numbers or whatever, block numbers. You were able to get around them, right? Not that you should. I understand times when you have to. I've been there, right? Now, with them adding not only text messages, email, and social media, what do you think some of these individuals, and by the way, if you're one of them, you're welcome to chime in on the comments below, will do now that they're incentivized and allowed to reach out through other means? Yeah. So if you didn't know this, of course, a lot of the people, again, I work in the BPO industry, grab campaigns, right? Buy debt. You actually buy debt from major creditors, right? Like Capital One or even retail stores like Best Buy. And you pay literally pennies on the dollar. So what happens? You buy a $1,000, $2,000 debt, and then you really pay maybe 1, 2, 5, 10% of it, but you try to recover as much as you can, and that's where you turn a profit. You essentially train these, call them bulldogs, right, to go after people and harass them as much as you can. Now, there's certain limitations that those quote-unquote bulldogs have. So many calls, you know, there's only so many things they can ask from you, yada, yada, yada. A lot of the times, they get very aggressive and they go after, an example, you by means of your employer. So they'll call your employer and say, hey, we're looking for John Doe. Trying to embarrass you, right? We're calling him because there's a debt that's been owed. So to pressure you, you feel like, oh man, you know, you'll have a HR or somebody in the office saying, hey, by the way, Capital One called you, you know, John. And you're like, what? My John? There's a lot of Johns. It's not me. No, they said your last name. They said your address is this. And you say you owe this much. Yeah, it gets nasty. So what is going to happen now? Now those bulldogs are going to have means of saying, you know what? I'm going to just look them up real quick on Facebook. Now, Facebook, by the way, is looking into this, right? In the same article, they go on to say that big social media platforms are looking into exactly what's going to happen, what, you know, the consumer financial regulations are going to be behind allowing said companies to reach out through your social media. So even Twitter and Facebook, they're still like, we don't know what to do with this new, you know, with this new law, which will go into effect in 2021. And again, until they figure out their shit, you don't know if your next friend request will be your friendly neighborhood, you know, debt collector, liking your post, put it on your every single one of your posts, like, hey, great picture of you and your dog, and remember, you kind of owe us $3,000. You know, it's like, but like your picture, like the picture, but you owe us money. You just never know, right? So I don't think it's gonna be cut and dry. I actually think this is something that you definitely had, you know, something happen with the bureaucrats, right? Up in, you know, Capitol Hill, wherever it is that you live, where you have people, right, that were petitioning for this to happen, to push forward, and it did. And now, again, it's going to be allowed. So watch your text messages, watch your friend requests, and definitely watch your emails, because that's another thing that you've never seen before. You know, getting spam by creditors. And trust me, just trust me on this one. I've worked many campaigns. I've known many people in the BPO industry. They'll say the line is kind of gray, and many of them will push it all the way to the black side, like as much as they can when it comes to like what you can't and cannot do. I've seen it with stuff in solar, right? When people sell you solar. I've seen it with things when people sell you just standard Legion. I've seen it all. And them being allowed to do this is just another tool that they're going to push, right? So if regulation says, hey, maybe not sending friend requests, they'll be like, but I didn't. Technically, the company who owns another company is sending the friend request. Or, hey, don't harass them more than 5 times on social media. They'll do the 5 times. Been there, you know, so just watch out for it. All right, let's move on to the next story. Some of you guys will accuse me of somehow being, you know, infatuated with Elon Musk. I'm not. I just find the guy interesting. And over the last couple of weeks, increasingly more. What? I'm not being a simp. What? I'm just saying the guy knows how to play the media. He reminds me of Donald Trump sometimes. I wonder if 2025 Elon Musk for president. Watch some crazy shit. So now he is at least in my news, right? In my show here, because he was in the news again. Why? Check this article out. Elon Musk on the problem with corporate America. He says too many MBAs. Now here, I hope to nobody's surprise, I'm going to agree with the guy, right? Not because, you know, I'm a guy that doesn't have an MBA necessarily. I don't. But he makes a good point. He makes actually many good points here in this article. So a little bit of it, the article here says Tesla and SpaceX founder Elon Musk says the biggest problem with corporate America today is that too many businesses school graduates are running the show. He says in a statement, I think that might be too many MBAs running companies. Musk said on Tuesday. Very good point there, right? Listen, as a guy that has gone up the ladder, and I've worked my way up the ladder, as a guy that decided to work pretty much right out of high school, right? In a 9 to 5, and then worked in a company for many years, almost 12 years, right? In an industry. I worked my way up, all the way up to pretty much a district manager, right? Even though it had the official title was general manager. Later on in life, I worked my way up again, and through negotiations, I got myself into a role of director. I will tell you this. As a guy that has been down that road, I have seen the adjacent road. That road being of people that go to school, get their bachelor's or even associates, but definitely many of them getting their master's, coming over to the place where I used to work, sitting in interviews, right? And saying, oh yeah, man, we just had the graduation last week, 2 weeks ago, last month, whatever. And, based on the industry standard and what I've studied, of course, and gotten my degree on, I should be paid X amount of dollars. Now, before I tell you the number, understand that these individuals just came from being frat boys. Many of them just came from, getting their diploma, not having an ounce of experience, but here they want to go all the way to the top. It happens in the military, by the way. Now, when I was reading this article, I went down that rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh, interesting. When you're by the way, many of you guys didn't know this. Side note, if you go into the military with a degree, you get to jump a lot of ranks, right? Sometimes going all the way to officer. Okay. It's very similar in the corporate world. Many of you guys working right now in 9to-5s, seeing people come and go in high-ranking positions, you might not know that it's actually because a lot of them not only know connections, but have these MBAs. And the reason I liked the article is because here's a guy, right, that owns one of the biggest companies in the United States, at least, right? Arguably the world. And he is a guy that says, there are too many of these graduates with MBAs coming in, knocking and demanding a chair at the table. And it's very true. Now, do I think that some of these individuals don't deserve a position, at that level? No. I've met many people with degrees that are pretty damn smart, and they know what the hell they're talking about, and they deserve that and more. But I've also known some of them that are complete morons. Excuse me. And quite frankly, they don't know how to do high school level business analytics. So, quick story. When I was working with a company, there was an individual who had graduated, had a master's in business, right? And this person didn't know. We gave her so many opportunities to run so many different reports. And again, she couldn't get past running simple sum and a couple if functions on a spreadsheet, when she had, again, a master's in business administration or something along those lines. And she was just one example. So a lot of the times, again, what happens, and if anything, it's a lesson for many of you, if you do or you are working towards some kind of degree, you better walk the walk and talk the talk. It's big. And don't take it from this guy. If you were only hearing it from me, you're like, you don't even have one. I don't care what you say. You don't even know how to do a live show. You're hearing it from Elon Musk. Again, the guy has done pretty well for himself, some might say. And he's saying it. And why? Because he probably has seen it, right? He probably has seen that there are many of these people with MBAs. Here's a quick thing that I want to show you guys real quick that I forgot. Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. There it is. Check this out. So here towards the bottom, right? Or to the middle, he says this MBAization of America isn't great, Musk said, especially when it comes to product innovation. That right there was key for me. Key. Because again, going back to the example I was talking about, a lot of these individuals that had these fancy degrees, we would bring together in a meeting, and then we would start talking how to innovate at the time certain services that we were providing. It was always myself and this other individual who happens to be a good friend of mine that it felt like we were always coming up with good ideas, right? We were always leading the pack. Now, did we have the highest titles? Sure, I guess at the time you can say we did. But why would that stop anybody from, again, pushing innovation? And you guys are the ones with all the fancy degrees. So to conclude, am I going to say going to school is bad? No, I'm not going to try to get all crazy romantic. And I've seen some so-called influencers out there. No, listen, at the end of the day, if going to school makes you feel good, if having one of those diplomas makes you feel, happy, do you, right? But this message is for all of the rest of you that don't. People like me that don't have a fancy diploma, not even an associate's, and you feel like you only and can only stay maybe manager, supervisor, and below. Again, don't take it from me, take it from a guy like Elon Musk, right? Which he is saying, and if you go on and read the article, he says on there, right, that more corporations out there should really open up positions to people with experience, drive, not just a fancy title. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think the current president administration was also trying to do something similar. Google it, right? Where, again, they're trying to push people that sometimes have 20 years of experience doing something, 10 years of experience, but they feel either A, suppressed because of their own, inability or maybe some level of being scared to go forward, right? Or their bosses are keeping them down because they just don't have the experience, right? So it's just something for you guys to think about. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to do a live show today, and maybe one day you guys will catch me with a few more of these, and we can go back and forth with some questions. You feel like you want to just kill 20 minutes of your life, let's kill them. But that's it for today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and until next time, see ya. Oh wait, that's right. I don't have to do this anymore. I can just shut you guys down like this. Bye.